Good afternoon, and I welcome you to the 24th live session with me today. Last week, we started discussing young people's involvement and active participation in the local community. Together with Rosalinda Juice, we shed light on her personal experience working with the Association for Abandoned Animals, young people's contribution to this cause, and challenges COVID has brought to this organization. Today, our guest, we have Miss Sarah Brady. She is BirdLife's Head of Education and Engagement. In today's discussion, we'll be following a similar tone to last week's, where we'll discuss the roles and missions of BirdLife, its role in the community, young people's participation, and lastly, COVID's impact on this organization. First of all, I would like to thank you, Sarah, for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we'll be starting this session on a more personal level. So, first of all, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Scottish, as you can probably tell from my accent. But I've been living and working in Malta for the past 4.5 years or so. And talking about my, I guess, experience, I decided about the age of 9 years old that I wanted to work in conservation. And nature has always been such a huge part of my life. So much so that even at that young age, I felt this responsibility to try and protect it. And as I grew older, I went to the University of Aberdeen, which is in the north of Scotland, and I studied conservation biology. And it was really there that I found that my real strengths were about connecting people with nature and working with people rather than the scientific aspect of conservation. So I guess that kind of brought me to the point where I was looking for jobs after graduating from university. And that's where I found BirdLife Malta and came here.
Okay, you have had several experiences volunteering for different organizations, and in fact, your first role with BirdLife was of an educator volunteer. What value did volunteering instill in your personal life?
I would say volunteering is a hugely important factor for even for getting a job or working in this type of sector. I would say um, the conservation profession is so competitive. There are very limited opportunities. So you need to have years of volunteering experience to have a chance of getting your first kind of foot in the door. And I think I started volunteering with a charity that works with young people, engaging them with environmental education through, taking them on bushcraft camps and that sort of thing. So more of a scouts type perspective from about the age of 14. And it wasn't until the age of 22, after all those years of volunteering, that I got a job working for BirdLife Malta.
Okay, so perhaps one of the main issues of volunteering is the difficulty in measuring its value.
Mm,
Um, how can we go around this? How can we value uh, this action of volunteering?
that's a good question. I think we can value it through the personal development that it gives us. It gives us um, skills and experiences that you perhaps might not have managed, because it's one thing learning the theory of something in class, but volunteering gives you the opportunity to do it in person, to do it in practice, and build your skills that way. I think that's a huge value of volunteering. And I think it's also just a matter of maybe active citizenship, giving back to society and feeling that you are part of your society.
Okay, so now we'll be focusing more on the community part and of BirdLife, as you are here representing this organization. Can you share with us what is the role of this NGO in the local community?
I would say, sorry, just to explain, I have birds, pet birds, and you'll probably hear them in the background in case you hear. Anyway, so I would say BirdLife Malta's role in the community is twofold. Firstly, to connect people with nature. And Connection with nature is basically the individual relationship that each of us have with the natural world. So it is our role as an NGO to help people discover their relationship with the natural world, which will help them to care about nature. And therefore, if you care about it, you'll want to protect it. Not only that, it has a lot of health and well-being benefits. So you feel happier, less stressed, even improves your academic, capacity. So it has lots of benefits for us and for our planet. And the other part I would say is that we have a role in helping to protect Maltese natural heritage so that we make sure that there is still nature left, for our future generations. Malta is actually the most urbanized country in the European Union, about 33%. So we need to conserve the nature spaces that we still have remaining.
Okay, so as a youth worker, obviously I have a particular interest in discussing young people. From your experience, and even you have started at a very young age, do you think that young people are active within your organization?
Definitely. I would say one of the key ways that they have been active is through the European Solidarity Corps. So this is a program run by Erasmus Plus, and we actually have around 12 young people who support a huge amount of the work that we do as an organization. So they support us in finance, and they run our events, they do our graphic designs, they do all sorts of things for BirdLife Malta. I think also more externally, we also have a community of really kind of enthusiastic bird watchers or people who love nature. There are members or supporters, but also people who come to our events regularly or to the nature reserves. And a lot of them who started as young people are still with the organisation today, and they've been a part of the organisation. So, for example, our education staff started, it would have been probably in the 90s with our youth group, and they're still working for the organisation now. So young people have always been a part of our work.
Okay, how do you outreach for young people's involvement in your organization? Is there maybe a campaign going on to try and get as many young people on board with your mission?
Yes, so actually, there's something that we have going on right this minute, which is called, it's a new campaign that we have going on about migration called On the Move. And the idea is to try, firstly, to inspire people about how exciting bird migration is and how lucky Malta is to have so many birds passing through twice a year, but also to try and get some volunteers. So we're looking for young people. They would have to be 18 years old plus, but we're looking for about between 18 and 30 to come and join our raptor camp as a volunteer to help, watch over the birds so they can pass safely through Malta. But there's some other things that we have sort of ongoing throughout the whole year as well. So we're currently in a youth group. So we're hoping to support young people to realise their ambitions to protect the environment. So this is not something that we will be leading the agenda of. We want to give young people the opportunity to create their own agenda for environmental protection, and we'll support them to do that.
Okay, most of the time we talk about young people as the future, but they are also the present as well. Um,
Yes.
what role do you see young people having in the local community that matches your aims and missions?
I would say that there are kind of two things. So there's something that everyone can do, and these are small actions to, protect habitats. So it could be things like even planting wildlife friendly plants on your balconies and courtyards and encouraging your friends and family to do the same, and being aware of your environmental impact. We all know to reduce, reuse and recycle. Doing those things can really help. One of the most powerful forms of powerful ways that we can protect the environment is activism, actually, because that is where you can really create meaningful change. So getting, young people inspired with the right tools to know how to act for the environment, to encourage our politicians to protect the environment, is also really important.
Uh, Research suggests that maybe young people's participation in volunteering isn't that high. But I think if we took something from last week's session, where we had Rosalind, who was representing the AAA, an interesting point came out that maybe we don't need to look at the quantity of young people being active, but at the quality. And I don't know, maybe as you have been a young person yourself, volunteering, what are the difficulties maybe that young people may face, that may prevent them or act as a barrier for their participation in such organizations?
I think time is potentially a factor. I think perhaps a lot of young people need jobs to support their studies or to support themselves just living, basically. And it's not always possible for them to have the time to volunteer or give more because they're already doing a lot through working. So I think that's possibly a barrier to kind of young people participating. I think it's also knowing what to do can also be a challenge. And I think that's one that we can possibly overcome because we know what to do. We just need to share that effectively with young people so they also know what to do. So does that answer your question or?
Yes, yes. And I wanted to ask you about your role at BirdLife. I don't know if maybe you can give us a little overview of the different tasks and responsibilities you may have.
Sure. So, working at BirdLife, mainly my role previously has been about managing the education department. So, we have a team of about 8 or 9 people who are delivering field teaching sessions at the nature reserves. They're going into schools to deliver Dinyawaka, which is our schools program, or events and things like that. And I've been sort of coordinating the team and managing them to deliver these different programs. Something else that I do is also applying for funding. So I do a lot of project writing for like Erasmus proposals and things like that. So we have lots of international projects. So we're lucky. BirdLife Malta is part of an organization called BirdLife International. And BirdLife International is a network of about 116 organizations around the world. And we have, because we're part of this network, we are able to reach out to these different countries. And so we have different projects, for example, working on early years. How do we engage teachers with outdoor learning for early years? We have a lovely project about, with the Deaf Association of Malta, creating new words and sign language for different bird species. So we do a lot of those kind of international collaborations. Um, and another new part of my role, which is not just education, it's also engagement, which is something that I've just started this year, has been looking at how we communicate with people through social media or just engaging with members of the public generally. So at the moment, that's mainly involved a lot of, sort of strategy work. So I've been thinking about the most effective ways to communicate with people. So yeah.
Yeah, from all the things you have mentioned, it sounds like there are many opportunities available for young people out there. And I don't know, maybe you can tell us how they can um, issue their interest or maybe get involved or register.
Sure. So basically, we are, as I said, we're looking to start a new youth group. And we'd really love young people to get in touch with us who would be interested in being part of this. So the best way to contact us is probably through our email. So that's education@birdlifemalta.org. Or there's also, you can contact us through our website as well, because we have our contact details there. Or you can also contact us on our Facebook. And all you would need to tell us is who you are and whether you're interested in joining our youth group, and we will contact you to show you how that works.
Yeah, to follow with this, maybe those young people who know me, they can ask me for these contacts and I will forward them to you if that makes maybe your life a little more easier.
That would be
Uh,
great.
yes. Um, we have been talking a lot about education.
Mm.
Um, how? what is the role of education in the future of young people's involvement in such causes in reality? Because you don't need to be active in an organization to protect uh, our environment, to take care. Um, and certainly you have a lot of work, you're doing a lot of work with regarding to education. So is education the key?
I would say so because education in reality is about behavior change. And that's basically what we need to do if we want to protect our environment. So, education allows you to connect with nature, which builds your emotional relationship with the natural world, which makes you, as I said, which makes you care about it. And if you care about nature, therefore, you will want to protect it. So I would say education is crucial because without that care, we will not have the motivation to protect it. And we have to be regularly in contact with nature if we want to develop that feeling of protection towards, yeah, the environment.
Okay, so now I will be shifting the discussion towards COVID-19 because at the time we are discussing this, we are still part of a pandemic. And
Yes.
I think COVID-19 has brought many new realities to many organizations. Has COVID-19 impacted your organization?
Definitely. And I can speak, I guess, mostly from the education perspective, but it's totally transformed the way that we think about education and the way that we deliver education programs. Not one of because obviously the best way to kind of inspire people about nature is to show them it so they can experience it and spend time in nature. So all of a sudden that option was no longer available to us. So we had to be very innovative, very creative, and try and find ways to do so in kind of more online formats or encouraging people to do so by themselves. So we have, for example, schools programs where we had fully booked field teaching sessions right the way through to the end of the scholastic year, which were cancelled. So we then had to deliver live nature classrooms to an audience of students and teachers, which we did once a week for the whole term. So, and that was a very quick turnaround. I mean, we had what, a couple of weeks to prepare everything, and suddenly we had a whole new program to deliver. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
certainly it caught everybody off guard because I think
yes.
nobody was prepared for it. Will you be using some of these principles, maybe these new techniques, for the future now?
Definitely. It was surprising to us because we actually found that we were very successful in engaging people online. And we had, I think every class we had about at least 200 students and teachers joining us each time. And the feedback we were getting was really positive. And we had a lot more engagement with our Facebook pages, we had more members. So I think we'll need to find a way to continue delivering our in person programs in our, nature reserves but still maintain that online presence so that we can kind of have the best of both in a way that's not going to burn us all out because there's so much work to do.
Yeah, for sure. That is all from my end. I think if maybe I can conclude, I think there are many opportunities that maybe young people don't really know about. And I'm really grateful for your contribution, Sarah, because maybe those young people who feel the urge to be active um, uh, in our local community, there are many different opportunities that they can be involved in within BirdLife. And I really urge young people because your impact and your energy can bring about very important social change, which will not only benefit us living, but even future generations. So, thank you very much, Sarah, for joining us. As you all know, we always end our live session with the quote of the day. And today's quote is: nature doesn't need people, people need nature. And that is why it is very important for us to take very good care of it. I wish you all very well, stay safe, and I'll be with you next week for another Go Live with Malcolm. Thank you very much.
Thank you.